Hey everybody, so this is going to be the second part to my story. So I've chosen that I'm going to be doing the My Story video, this one on my different therapists. So I just kind of want to explain the relationship I've had with some of them, some of the ups, some of the downs, all over all the years, and just how helpful and really like family that some of these ladies were. So I'll start from the beginning. The very first time I had went to a therapist was when I told my parents, probably about in grade 9 I believe, that I needed help, that something was wrong, that I looked it up and I thought I had OCD because I looked it up online. There was a lot of symptoms that matched, so they didn't know what to do, so they started somewhere, and I talked to a therapist in a city near me, and it was super weird, and I knew it wasn't right. It wasn't the way that I wanted to go about it. You walked in and it was one door, and you talked to the therapist, and then you walked out another door, so you'd never see who the patients were. And that made it feel really stigmatized for me. Like, I was really anxious, and I felt like it was, you're wrong for being there because you're not supposed to see the people. Like, you can't know who's there. And all that we really talked about was, she was like, what's going on? How do you feel? What's going on with your family? And all this stuff. And I went like 2 or 3 times, and it just made me feel worse because all we were talking about was stuff that was going on during the day. Nothing was being talked about. So from there, I told my parents that as well, that this doesn't seem right to me. And then they ended up finding a lady at a CBT place. Her name was Lori. She's an amazing lady, and I was probably with her for about 2-3 years, probably around there. And I went back probably about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, just because I was at a point where I didn't know what to do or what was going on, and she helped me through so much. She was the therapist that showed me CBT all the way through and helped me in the darkest times, out of the darkest times, to start to get out of that and break down things layer by layer, because my mind, and she even said it too, was like a huge ball of, just think of a ball of yarn and there's just 10,000 things entangled, and she was starting to unravel that. And I was working through so many things, and I was diving into my head and talking to her about things that I'd never talked to anyone about, and that allowed me to open up to my family. And I went to her for about every week, and she was awesome. You know, we talk about her family and my family, and it just very nice. Like, the conversations you have with a therapist, you start to gain a relationship with these people, and that's really great. She was awesome, and then I got to a point where I would do so much of the work and do all the things that she would tell me to do, and I hit a point where I was like, I don't know what to do. I do it so much and nothing's different. And she basically said, hey, look, this is it for your life. Like, if you haven't changed by now, this is it. Like, you're stuck with this forever. I don't know what to tell you. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just messed up. Okay. I don't know what to do. But I wasn't taking that for an answer, because I'm like, this is not my life. I know there's more answers to this. Like, this is what I know, and I've done as much as I can and I've tried as hard as I can for now. And then I ended up moving to a different therapist, and she did amazing things for me, but I decided that it was time to move on. So then I again told my dad that, and exploring something completely new, something that was different to me, and I did that. And I went to a lady named Brandy. I probably went to her for a few months, and she was one of my favorites. She is definitely my favorite. Her and another one. She was absolutely amazing. She was like a mom. She was a mom, and she was like my mom at the same time. Like, she would come in and she cared for me. She was so genuine, and she was kind. Like, she wasn't just sitting there and trying to work through things. She related to you, and she sympathized, but she was so professional. She was the top of her game. She was absolutely amazing. She was so, like, you were just talking to your mom, so comforting. And I was opening up about things that were like, I never thought I would talk to anyone about. And that, again, allowed me to really open up about myself and open up to people and explore my mind and accept things that I never thought I would accept. And that moved me into the next point in my life where I was starting to grow up and I was out of high school. I was doing a lot of things that I didn't like to do, that I didn't want to do. And again, the word suicide was on my mind a lot. That's because I didn't know what to do. Was that focusing on what I didn't want? I didn't realize that you could focus on what you do want, and you have the choice. And that was all that was in my mind because I didn't know what to do. I was like, I've tried therapists, I've tried all these different things, and I don't like what I'm doing, but it keeps happening. And then that's when I got admitted to the psychiatric ward in the hospital because my parents didn't know what to do. And I basically brought that up and I said, hey, I tried to kill myself yesterday and they didn't know what to do. And then I got taken there. And the most beautiful thing came from that, and I still think about her all the time because I was there, and basically they didn't really seem to care where I went about you. And I talked to the nurses. I'm like, I don't need to be here. I didn't admit myself. I didn't want to put myself here. I just tried to talk to somebody. I talked to my parents about how I'm feeling because I never really opened up to anyone about that. And then they just didn't care. I was like, I want medication. If I'm here, I'm going to make a reason for it. And they didn't care at all. Didn't listen to me, didn't do anything. And I can't remember how it went about. I don't remember if my parents called. I think my parents called because I didn't want to see them. I was upset at them at the time for that whole situation, which it wasn't their fault. And that led to Brandy coming down all the way from where she lived to where that hospital was, which wasn't close. And she came down after she worked, and she came to see me and sit with the doctor. After she has a family, and she has a life, and she sat with that doctor, and I told her, I'm here, and I'm doing all this stuff happened. She had heard about it, and she took time out of her day to drive an hour and a bit to come to me, and that was something I'll never forget. Someone that cares so much, with a family, with a husband, with people to go to after work, and she comes down and sat with the doctor of that psychiatric ward and got me medication. I was like, I'm not here for no reason. Get me help. I'm not just another person that you just is going to come back. This isn't it. And I will never forget that. That was so amazing. And then from there, I decided that, this is serving me so much again, so I moved on. And then I was on and off therapy with a few differently, I went back to Lori, and that was a couple years ago. And then I did my own research and found Lana, who's a very, very credited DBT and borderline personality and emotional, working through emotions with people through therapy. And she was amazing. She is awesome. And I worked with her for the last year and a half, and then that came to an end when I met Corey, and I had that course, and now I'm on to my next chapter. But through that, there's so many beautiful relationships, and they care for you. You can text them, you can email them. Yeah, they won't get back all the time. Some of them will get back right away. It's not just a job, it's their life. They will get back to you at any time, whenever. And Lana was one of those ladies that, it was her job. And I would email her, she would get back to me every so often. But when we were in there, she was very professional, very helpful, an amazing woman, and just so kind. All of these ladies were so kind, and they're always there to help. They want the best for you. And you really form a relationship with these people. Not in the sense that it's outside of their work, but you form you're open with these people as you continue to express and show and share things that you never would share with anybody else. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because you start to see that as well. At least when I went through all these different therapists, that everyone's the same. They talk to everyone about all these different things. They'll bring up, this patient, they talked about this, and this relates to what you had. I had a patient that did this, and it just shows that everyone's has the same thoughts within a certain means. Everyone has the same worries. Everyone has the same things to an extent. and it's just in a different way. And that really helped me to see that, you know what, I'm not alone, that therapy doesn't mean that I'm messed up. Therapy is really to understand that, whether it's a severe case or whether it's a moderate case of how you relate to these thoughts, and they're there to help you through that, to show that everyone's exactly the same. And now I'm on the next chapter in my life where therapy has helped me so much, and I'm moving forward. It's such a beautiful thing, and it's so hard to talk to people, and when they're so worried about therapy and the stigma, and it's so hard to break that down sometimes, because some people will never go just because of simply what it seems to be to them and what other people will think, and it sucks. But this is why I'm making these videos, because it is true, and it's important for everyone to experience that needs to or wants to. And it's also, it isn't cheap, and that's another thing, that working on that is something that would be beautiful and accessible resource to people. So that's my experience with therapists, and it really just bonds with people and sharing things that are, you never feel like you would share, and you have that safe space. They can't share it with anyone, and they don't. It's legally their obligation. This helped, or even just relates to anyone, but this is my story, and this is my experience with the therapists that I've had over the years. And I'm glad that I could share this with you. I hope you have an amazing day. Make it a great day. And I hope you enjoy your New Year's with your family, friends, whoever you're spending it with. Enjoy your holidays. Thank you for watching.